The camera opens on a bright suburban kitchen. Laughter echoes. A young woman, polished, confident, leans against the counter, sipping wine. Her words slice the air like glass. "You should be grateful we even let you babysit, John." The room falls silent. My hands tremble as I wipe baby food off the table. They think I don't hear the mockery beneath her smile. But I do. Every word lands like a bruise. Then I whisper quietly, but loud enough for her to stop laughing. "Oh, I am grateful, dear. And soon you'll be too." I'm Jean, a 62-year-old retired teacher, a widow. And for the past 3 years, I've been something else too, the full-time grandmother. Unpaid, unseen. And, as I was about to realize, completely unappreciated. Every morning, my alarm went off at 6. By 6:30, I was at my son Ethan's house. Apron on, coffee brewing, breakfast sizzling. I'd pack lunches, braid little Ellie's hair, and chase Tommy around with his shoes. Sometimes I'd sing old songs while cleaning up their mess. It reminded me of when Ethan was small, when he used to cling to my leg and say, "Don't go, Mommy." Those memories kept me going. They made every early morning, every spill, every tantrum feel worth it. But love can turn heavy when it's taken for granted, because after a while I noticed something. No one said thank you. At first, Madison, my daughter-in-law, would smile when I came over. "Morning, Jean," she'd say while scrolling through her phone. She used to hand me coffee. Then, one day she didn't. Soon she stopped greeting me at all. Her heels would click past me as she grabbed her bag and left. Perfume lingering. No words exchanged. And Ethan, my own son, would kiss the kids, pat my shoulder and say, "Mom, you're a lifesaver." But even that phrase felt empty now. Because when I once joked, maybe I should start charging for daycare, he just laughed. "Mom, you love the kids. Don't make it sound like a job." A job, that word sat on my tongue all day. Because that's exactly what it was. A job without a paycheck, without appreciation, without boundaries. The first time I felt invisible wasn't a moment. It was a pattern. They started forgetting I had a life outside their walls. They'd call at midnight asking if I could come early. They'd plan vacations, assuming I'd watch the kids without even asking. One weekend, I told them I might visit my sister for a few days. Madison's reply stung more than she realized. "Oh, well, we'll have to find someone else then." Someone else. Like I was an employee leaving a shift. For a second, I almost apologized, almost told her I'd cancel. But I stopped, because suddenly, I saw it clearly. They didn't need my love. They needed my labor. And once you realize that, love starts to feel like slavery. One afternoon, I went upstairs to fold laundry. The baby monitor was on and Madison's voice came through, sharp, careless. "Honestly, she's lucky we even let her help. It keeps her busy. Otherwise, she'd just be lonely." I froze. The shirt in my hand slipped to the floor. Lucky? Let me? My throat tightened. Lonely. That word echoed in the quiet room. Is that what they thought of me? That I hovered around them because I had nothing better to do? I stood there for a long time, realizing they saw me as a burden disguised as a blessing. When Madison hung up, I quietly left. No confrontation. No tears, just silence. That night, I sat alone at my kitchen table. The clock ticked. My tea went cold. I kept hearing her laugh in my mind. I'd given my best years to raising my son. And now I was raising his children, again, without even a shred of recognition. Maybe it was my fault. Maybe I made it too easy, because mothers don't ask for payment. We give and give until there's nothing left. But something in me cracked that night. Sometimes the quiet ones don't break. They awaken. I started writing a list, small at first. Hours I spent watching the kids. Meals I made. Miles I drove. I wasn't angry yet, just measuring. The next week, Madison came home late from work. I was feeding the kids dinner. She didn't even say hello. Instead, she opened the fridge and frowned. "Did you finish the almond milk again?" Her tone, sharp, accusing, like I'd stolen it. I bit my lip. I used a little for the oatmeal. She sighed, exaggerated. It's fine. Just try not to use things that aren't yours next time. That word, yours. Everything in that house I touched, the meals, the toys, the warmth, had been built by me. Yet suddenly, I felt like a stranger in my own family. When someone treats you like help long enough, you start to feel invisible, until the day you decide not to be. I started noticing little things. How Madison rolled her eyes when I corrected the kids. How Ethan avoided taking sides. How they whispered at night when they thought I couldn't hear. I knew resentment was growing, but I didn't know why. Was it because I reminded them they still needed me? Or because they hated owing me anything they couldn't repay? That's the thing about pride. It turns gratitude into guilt, and guilt into cruelty. And cruelty wears the face of casual laughter. Friday nights were family dinners. The table was set beautifully, candles flickering. I'd made my famous lasagna, Madison's favorite, ironically. She poured herself a glass of wine, laughing with her friend over speakerphone. Her voice was sharp, confident. Then I heard it, the sentence that burned everything to ash. You should be grateful we even let you babysit. Her laughter followed, soft, cruel, effortless. Time stopped. My heart pounded in my chest. I looked at Ethan, expecting him to say something. He didn't. He just lowered his eyes, and that silence hurt more than her words ever could. The moment no one defends you, that's the moment you stop defending yourself. I placed my fork down. My hands steady, I smiled politely, finished my bite, and stood up. "Excuse me," I said quietly. I gathered my purse, walked to the door, and before stepping out, turned to her. "Oh, I am grateful, dear. And soon, you'll be too." The door clicked shut behind me. The drive home was silent. No music, no tears. Just the hum of the road and the sound of my heartbeat. That one sentence, "You should be grateful," replayed like thunder in my mind. By the time I reached my driveway, something inside me had changed. The woman who left that dinner table was not the same woman who'd walked in, because that night, I realized something simple yet powerful. If they wanted to treat me like an employee, then maybe it was time I sent them a bill. And that's when I started calculating. After the laughter faded, I quietly finished cleaning the dishes. The house was filled with the sound of cartoons and Madison's voice from the living room, scrolling through her phone. I smiled politely, set the last plate in the rack, and said, "Good night." Neither of them looked up. Outside, the air was cold, sharper than usual. Driving home, I gripped the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. Her words, "You should be grateful we even let you babysit," replayed in my head like poison. Be grateful. Grateful for what? For being treated like unpaid help? For cleaning up after their mess while they lived their perfect little lives? I parked the car and just sat there. The porch light flickered on automatically, like it was welcoming me home, even though nobody else was waiting. I sat there for a long time, staring at the quiet house, wondering when I'd stopped belonging in my own son's life. Inside, I made tea, the same chamomile I used to drink with Ethan when he was little. He used to sit at the kitchen table and tell me, "When I grow up, Mom, I'll take care of you." I smiled at the memory. Then it broke me. That night, I pulled out a notebook and a pen. Something inside me had snapped, but not in anger, in clarity. I wasn't just going to sit in silence anymore, so I began writing. Not a letter. Not a complaint. An invoice. Every hour. Every meal. Every school pickup. Every night of homework. Every emergency call when the nanny canceled. I listed it all, line by line, like I used to grade papers as a teacher. At first, my hands trembled. But the more I wrote, the steadier I felt. 3 years of unpaid childcare. 3 years of washing their dishes, folding their laundry, and being told it was just helping out. By midnight, I had a total. $74.80, and that was me being generous. Minimum wage only. Not counting emotional labor, not counting gas, groceries, or the years of love poured into those children. But it wasn't about money. It was about respect. Because when people stop valuing your effort, sometimes you have to show them its price. I typed it neatly, attached a note. Dear Ethan and Madison, thank you for allowing me to be part of your children's lives. This invoice reflects the value of the time I've dedicated. Please settle it at your earliest convenience, or let's discuss a payment plan. Then I printed it, folded it carefully, and slipped it into their mailbox early the next morning, before they woke up. I drove away without looking back, and for the first time in years, I didn't show up. By noon, my phone was vibrating nonstop. 14 missed calls. 9 messages. The first few were from Ethan. Mom, are you okay? Then they turned sharper. Mom, where are you? The kids are crying. Did something happen? I waited until the 16th call before answering. Mom, where are you? His voice was tight, half panic, half irritation. I'm home, I said calmly. You'll need to arrange other childcare. I'm retired now. Retired? He snapped. From your grandkids? No, Ethan. From being taken for granted. There was silence. Thick, uncomfortable silence. Then he muttered something under his breath and hung up. For a moment, I felt guilt, that old motherly instinct that tells you to fix everything. But then I looked at the empty teacup on my table, the quiet of my home, and I felt something stronger. Peace. 2 days passed. No visits, no calls, then a sharp knock on my door. I opened it to find Madison, sunglasses on, arms crossed. She didn't say hello. What is this? She said, waving the envelope. That, I said, is an invoice. Her lips twisted into a smirk. This is ridiculous, is it? I asked softly. You said I should be grateful you let me babysit. So I'm simply formalizing the arrangement, she scoffed. You're joking. I'm not. For the first time, I saw something flicker in her eyes. Not humor, not anger, but discomfort. Then she said, You've really lost it, haven't you? And walked off the porch without waiting for an answer. As she drove away, I stood there, watching her taillights disappear. But instead of feeling small, I felt taller. That night, I couldn't sleep. I walked through my house, past old photographs, Ethan as a boy with frosting on his nose, his first day at school, his wedding day. I remembered standing at the back of the aisle, crying with joy. Back then, I thought Madison was perfect. She was ambitious, confident, beautiful, everything I wanted for my son. But slowly she began building walls between us. Little things at first. Oh, Jean, don't bring snacks. We already have some. Then, Jean, maybe don't visit unannounced. And finally, Jean, you should be grateful we even let you babysit. Each word built a wall higher and higher, until I couldn't see my son anymore. The next morning, Ethan showed up. No warning, just the sound of his car outside. He didn't look angry, just tired. Mom, he said, walking in. Can we talk? I nodded, motioned for him to sit. He didn't. I don't understand this invoice thing, he began. Madison's upset. The kids are confused. What's going on? I looked at him, my son, the boy who once promised to take care of me. And I said, I gave 3 years of my life, Ethan. I did it because I love them, and you. But somewhere along the way, love turned into expectation. You stopped seeing me. He ran a hand through his hair. You're blowing this out of proportion. Am I? I asked quietly. You said it yourself. I love the kids. So it shouldn't feel like a job. But love doesn't mean free labor. He sighed. You're making Madison feel terrible. I met his eyes. Good. Maybe it's time she does. He stared at me, silent. Then finally said, You've changed. I smiled sadly. No, I just remembered who I was before I became everyone's convenience. After he left, I sat by the window. Their car pulled away, and I saw something strange. Madison was in the passenger seat, not saying a word. They didn't come by for 2 weeks. But I noticed something online. Madison's social posts stopped too. No family dinners, no smiling, perfect mom pictures. Something was shifting, and deep down, I knew the storm had only begun. That weekend, I heard the screech of tires outside my gate. Before I could even set my cup of tea down, there was pounding on my front door. When I opened it, Madison stood there, red-faced, trembling with fury. Her heels clicked like gunfire on the porch as she stormed in without asking. Ethan followed behind her, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. She waved the crumpled invoice in my face. "Is this some kind of joke?" she snapped, voice sharp enough to cut glass. I smiled softly. "Not at all. You wanted to treat it like a job, Madison, so I made it official." Her eyes narrowed. "You're unbelievable. You're supposed to want to help your family. And you're supposed to appreciate it," I said calmly. The room fell into silence, the kind that hums with electricity before lightning strikes. Ethan stepped forward. "Mom, come on, this isn't fair. Why would you humiliate us like this?" I turned to him slowly, meeting his eyes, the same eyes that used to look up at me with love, now filled with defensiveness. "Because humiliation," I said, "is the only language you both seem to understand." Madison's face twisted. "You think this makes you the victim? You offered to babysit, remember? Nobody forced you." "I offered out of love," I replied. "But love isn't a blank check for disrespect." She let out a short, mocking laugh. "You've officially lost it, Jean. Maybe you are lonely after all." That one word again. Lonely. But this time it didn't sting. It just proved my point. I looked her straight in the eye. "You're right, Madison. I was lonely. Not because I didn't have people around me, but because I was surrounded by the wrong kind of people." Ethan ran his hand through his hair. "Mom, this is insane. You're making things worse for everyone." "Maybe," I said quietly, "but sometimes things have to break before they can heal." By then, Madison's voice had risen so loud that I saw a curtain twitch from across the street. Neighbors peeking through their windows. Perfect timing for the family drama to hit center stage. Madison threw her hands up. "You want to embarrass us in front of everyone? Fine. Let them see what kind of mother you are." I walked past her, opened the front door wide, and gestured toward the porch. "Go ahead, Madison, tell them. Tell them how your free babysitter finally sent a bill." Her jaw clenched. "You'll never see a dime of this." She snatched the invoice from my hand and ripped it clean in half, the paper fluttering to the ground between us. I didn't even flinch. "Good," I said. "Then you'll just see how life feels without me." And I turned, walked inside, and shut the door. Behind me, I heard her voice rising again, this time cracking under the weight of her own rage. But I didn't turn around. For the first time in years, I felt peace. Not guilt, not confusion, just peace. Inside, I sat down, the quiet almost deafening. Outside, I heard Ethan muttering something to calm Madison down. Then the sound of their car door slamming. Tires screeching again. They were gone. I looked at the torn pieces of paper on my floor, half of my invoice still lying there, a few lines of ink visible through the tear. Hours worked, unpaid. I picked it up and placed it neatly on my table. Not as a reminder of the fight, but of the boundary I'd finally drawn. That evening, I went for a walk. It had been years since I'd done that, years since I'd walked just for myself, not pushing a stroller or chasing after anyone. The air felt different, lighter. A neighbor waved. I smiled back. For the first time in a long time, I felt seen, even if it wasn't by my own family. The following week, silence. No calls, no visits. No texts, I expected that. Madison's pride was too big to admit she was wrong, but what I didn't expect was the panic that followed. On Thursday, Ethan's number flashed on my phone again. He didn't sound angry this time, just exhausted. "Mom," he said quietly, "we can't find anyone to watch the kids. Madison's parents are traveling. Can you please help, just for this week?" I took a breath. Ethan, I love those children, but I'm done being free labor. Hire a sitter. It's what normal families do, he sighed. It's not that easy, I stayed silent. Let the weight of that truth sink in, because it had always been easy, for them. I had made it easy. 2 days later, I got a message from one of the parents at the kids' school. Jean, are you okay? The kids looked so tired today. I didn't see you with them. I stared at the text for a long time. No, I hadn't been there, and it showed. Madison had been trying to juggle her job, her social events, and now the school pickups. Suddenly, those free hours I gave her were no longer invisible. The invisible woman had vanished, and the household began to crumble. I'd heard through the grapevine that Madison missed 2 client meetings. Ethan was late to work twice, and the kids were sent home once because no one packed their lunches. Slowly but surely, the cracks were showing. A part of me wanted to step in, to fix it, to help like I always did. But I remembered the laughter. That sharp, cruel sound when Madison said, "You should be grateful we even let you babysit." So instead, I made myself another cup of tea, opened my book, and whispered to myself, "They'll learn." A week later, I was at the grocery store when 2 women from Madison's yoga group walked past me. They were whispering, and one of them said quietly, "I heard she made her mother-in-law work for free." Their voices lowered when they noticed me, but I caught the look on their faces, judgment, pity. Karma was speaking now, softly, but publicly. By the next Sunday, Madison's flawless image began to slip. No more posts of perfect family brunches. No more smug smiles about how lucky she was, because luck, it seemed, had taken a little break. A few days later, there was a knock at my door. This time it wasn't Madison. It was my grandson, Liam. He stood there holding a drawing. "Grandma," Mom said, "you're mad." "Are you?" I knelt down, took the picture from him. It was a crayon drawing of us in the park. "No, sweetheart," I said softly. "Grandma's not mad. She's just taking a little break." He nodded slowly, the way children do when they don't understand but want to. Then he hugged me tight. As I held him, tears burned behind my eyes, not from sadness, but from something deeper. A realization that the love I gave wasn't wasted. It had roots, just not in the adults. That night, as I watched the sun set through my window, I saw Ethan's car pass by my street. He slowed down, didn't stop, but slowed, like he was thinking of turning in. Then he kept driving, and I smiled, because I knew the story wasn't over yet. But this time, the next chapter would be on my terms. Days passed. Then weeks. Madison scrambled to find babysitters. Ethan started leaving work early, juggling calls while managing 2 cranky children. Their picture-perfect routine, the one they were so proud of, began to fall apart piece by piece. I didn't need to say a word. Karma had already started her work. From what I heard through my friend Clara, who lived near Ethan's street, Madison had missed 2 client meetings in 1 week. She'd shown up to one call with a toddler screaming in the background, and just like that, the power couple everyone admired looked very, very human. I stayed quiet. I kept my boundaries. Every morning, I brewed my tea, looked out the window, and whispered to myself, "Let them learn." Because sometimes silence teaches louder than shouting ever could. The neighbors noticed too. At the grocery store, I overheard small whispers. "Did you hear Madison's mom-in-law stopped helping?" "Poor thing looks exhausted now," another woman replied softly. "Well, maybe she should have appreciated her." It wasn't malicious gossip. It was quiet justice. The kind that hums through small towns when truth finally catches up. For once, I wasn't the subject of pity. I was the example. The quiet woman who finally stood her ground. One evening, I received a text from Ethan. "Kids miss you. Madison's having a hard time. Please, can we talk?" I didn't reply right away. Not because I was cruel, but because I'd learned that immediate forgiveness only resets the cycle. They needed to sit in the silence they'd created. The next day, another text came. Mom, I know you're angry, but we're sorry. Truly, I put the phone down. I'd waited years to hear that word, me sorry. But this time, I wanted more than words. A week later, Madison showed up at my porch. No heels, no polished smile? Just a tired woman holding a small paper bag. Inside, it was a slice of apple pie. Homemade, still warm. She held it out with shaking hands. I don't know where to start, she said. I thought I was doing enough. But I wasn't. Her eyes were red, her voice cracked. For the first time, she wasn't talking at me. She was talking to me. I invited her inside. She sat on my couch, looked around, and whispered, I didn't realize how much you did. Until you stopped. I listened quietly. No anger, no lecture, just silence. When she finished, she looked at me with watery eyes. I'm sorry, Jean, we both are. And that's when I said softly but firmly, Madison, love is service. But service without respect becomes servitude. Her lips trembled. She nodded. She understood. A few mornings later, a small white envelope arrived in the mail. No return address, just Ethan's handwriting. Inside was a handwritten letter. Mom, I'm sorry. We never realized how much you did. Madison and I both owe you more than money. You were our anchor. Please come back. We'll make this right. Attached was a check for the full amount of the invoice, every penny I had listed. I stared at it for a long time. Part of me wanted to laugh. Part of me wanted to cry. It wasn't about the money. It never was. This was about acknowledgement, about finally being seen. I folded the letter neatly and placed it beside the check. Then I brewed another cup of tea, took a deep breath, and smiled, because I already knew what I was going to do. That afternoon, I wrote a note of my own. Short, simple, clear. Dear Ethan and Madison, thank you for your honesty and your apology. This means more to me than any payment ever could. Enclosed is your check, uncashed. Instead, I've attached a smaller invoice for $1. Consider it payment received, in apology. I sealed the envelope and dropped it in their mailbox. Then, as I walked away, I felt something inside me finally lift. The years of resentment, exhaustion, invisibility, gone. It was over. The next morning, there was another envelope waiting on my doorstep. This time, it was a drawing. From Liam, my grandson, stick figures of all of us, me, Ethan, Madison, and the kids, holding hands in a big green field. At the top, in messy handwriting, it said, Grandma's home. My throat tightened. I smiled through tears. No check, no apology letter, just that. Pure, innocent love. That was the real payment. Later that week, I went back to their house, not as a sitter, not as the unpaid help, but as a mother and grandmother. The kids ran to me, screaming with joy. Ethan hugged me first, then Madison followed. No words were needed. Respect had returned. Balance was restored, and that's when I realized, sometimes to be valued, you have to stop giving everything away for free. Boundaries don't end love. They protect it. Weeks had passed since that day. The house was quieter now. Peaceful, but in a way that echoed. The kind of quiet that makes you think about everything you've given, and everything you've finally let go. For days, I had kept to my own routine. Morning walks, tea by the window, the hum of my old radio playing songs from years gone by. I'd see parents rushing by with kids, the smell of breakfast drifting from nearby homes. And I'd smile, because for the first time in years, I wasn't rushing anywhere. Then one afternoon, my phone buzzed. A message from Ethan. Mom, can we visit? The kids miss you, my heart softened. It wasn't bitterness anymore, just a quiet ache mixed with forgiveness trying to grow. I typed back, of course. Come by tomorrow. The next day, when their car pulled up, my breath caught. The kids jumped out first, Lily and Noah, their laughter filling the air like sunlight through an open window. Grandma! They shouted, running toward me. I knelt down, arms wide, tears pricking my eyes. That pure love, the kind only children give, It washed away months of pain in a single moment. Inside, Madison stood in the doorway, holding a small plant in her hands. Her posture wasn't proud this time. It was careful, humble, almost nervous. I motioned her in. We sat at the table, the same one where I'd once balanced my checkbook and written that infamous invoice. Now there were cookies cooling, tea steeping, and sunlight painting everything gold. For a while, no one spoke. Ethan kept the kids busy while Madison and I shared that silent understanding that only mothers and daughters-in-law can have. Love, resentment, forgiveness, all tangled in one thread. Finally, she broke the silence. "Jean," she said softly, "I was wrong. You deserved more than just gratitude. You deserved respect. And I didn't give you that," her voice cracked. "It wasn't rehearsed. It was real." And in that moment, I saw not arrogance, but growth. I smiled gently. "Thank you, dear. That's all I ever wanted. Respect, not for what I did, but for who I am." Madison nodded, tears welling up. Ethan joined us, resting a hand on my shoulder. "We learned, Mom. We really did. The house hasn't felt the same without you. The kids, they talk about you every day." I looked at him, my son, my only child, and I realized something powerful. Sometimes love doesn't need punishment to teach. It needs distance. Distance sharp enough to make the heart listen. I reached out and took his hand. "Ethan," I said, "I never wanted to hurt you. I just wanted you to see me, really see me. Not as the woman who fills the gaps in your life, but as your mother who still has her own." He nodded slowly. "I do now." After lunch, we went outside. The kids played in the garden chasing butterflies, while Madison and I sat on the porch watching them. She handed me the small plant she'd brought. "It's lavender," she said. "I thought you'd like it. It means peace and devotion," I smiled. "Then it's perfect." We planted it together, 2 women, different generations, finally on the same side of the fence. The soil was warm under our fingers. It felt like burying old grudges and planting new beginnings. As we worked, Madison whispered, "When I said those awful things about being grateful to babysit, I didn't realize how cruel it sounded. I thought I was just joking." I looked at her, calm but honest. "Sometimes, dear, jokes reveal the truth we don't want to admit." She nodded, eyes wet, and we both stayed quiet. Because silence sometimes is the sincerest apology. When they left that evening, the house didn't feel empty this time. It felt whole, lighter somehow. The lavender plant sat by the window, a gentle reminder that respect once planted needs tending too. A week later, I received a letter, this time from Lily, my granddaughter. Written in crayon, with crooked hearts all over it. It said, "Thank you, Grandma, for always loving us. Mommy says you're the reason we laugh again." I held that letter to my chest and cried, not the tears of sadness or anger, but the kind that wash everything clean. Now, every morning, I water the lavender and think about how far we've come. How something that began with humiliation and hurt ended with growth and grace. Life, I realized, is full of invoices. Some we send to others, some we owe ourselves. And mine? It wasn't about the money at all. It was about value, about teaching those I love that love, even when given freely, should never be treated as free. When people ask me about it now, I just smile and say, sometimes the strongest lessons aren't shouted in anger. They're written in kindness, folded neatly and left in a mailbox. And with that, I sip my tea, listen to the children's laughter from down the street, and let the breeze carry one final thought. I didn't lose a family. I helped them find their way back. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe to Jean Stories, where every tale reminds us, love deserves respect. Hit the bell so you never miss the next story that'll make you feel, think, and remember who truly matters.